Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. Today we are heading to the ocean to explore a creature that's both beautiful and deadly.
Beautiful and deadly. That's a great way to put it.
We're talking about cone snails. You know those gorgeous shells you sometimes see on the beach?
Oh, yeah, those intricate patterns and vibrant colors, definitely eye-catching.
Well, those shells belong to some seriously fascinating predators. We're diving into the world of cone snails and their potent venom, conotoxins. To help us unpack all of this, we'll be using two Wikipedia articles, one on cone snails themselves and another specifically on conotoxins.
It's amazing how much information is packed into those articles. It's really a deep dive in itself.
Right, and we're going to uncover some truly mind-blowing facts. Did you know that these snails actually use harpoons to catch their prey?
Harpoons, you're not kidding. It's like something out of a science fiction movie.
I know. It's incredible. And their venom, it's not just one single toxin. We're talking about a complex cocktail of hundreds of different compounds, each with its own unique target.
It's like a high-tech pharmacy, but in a tiny snail.
Exactly. And get this, some cone snails even mimic the mating signals of worms to lure in their unsuspecting prey. Talk about sneaky.
Oh, yeah, those snails are masters of deception.
But it's not all about danger and intrigue. Cone snail venom, while deadly, also holds incredible potential for new medicines.
Absolutely. Researchers are finding ways to use these toxins to treat pain, neurological disorders, and even some types of cancer.
So much to uncover. To kick things off, maybe you could give us a quick overview of cone snails in general. What exactly are they, and where do they fit in the grand scheme of ocean life?
Sure. Cone snails are a type of sea snail, but we're not talking about your average garden variety snail here.
Right, these are way cooler.
They belong to the Conus genus, and get this, there are over 900 different species. Most of them live in warm tropical waters, but some have adapted to cooler environments like the coast of South Africa or even the Mediterranean.
Wow, so adaptable. They really get around.
They do, and those beautiful shells we were talking about, they come in a dazzling array of colors and patterns. It's one of the things that makes them so fascinating, but also a bit of a headache for scientists trying to classify them.
Oh, how so?
Well, all that variation has led to a ton of synonyms and probable synonyms in their taxonomy. It can be a real puzzle trying to figure out which ones are distinct species and which ones are just variations within a species.
It sounds like trying to sort through a giant box of mismatched socks.
Kind of. There's this one shell, Conus gloriamaris. It's known as the glory of the seas and was once one of the rarest and most sought-after shells. But then its habitat was discovered and the price plummeted.
Ouch, I bet that was a shock to collectors. But let's not get too distracted by those pretty shells because these creatures are, after all, predators. How do they actually hunt, and what makes them so dangerous?
Well, they're carnivores, which means they eat meat. Their diet can include marine worms, small fish, mollusks, and even other cone snails.
Snail eat snail world out there, huh?
You could say that, but how do they catch their prey? Remember those harpoons we mentioned?
Oh yeah, the super cool weapon?
Exactly. They have this modified tooth called a radula that's basically a sharp, barbed harpoon. It's connected to a venom gland, and when they spot their prey, they extend a long tube called a proboscis, almost like a built-in draw.
So they basically spear their prey and inject the venom all in one go.
Yep, it's incredibly efficient and deadly. And get this, some species have evolved to mimic the sex pheromones of certain worms.
Whoa, what? That's some next-level trickery.
I know, the worm thinks it's about to meet a mate, and then bam, dinner is served.
So sneaky. Okay, let's dive into the venom itself, those conotoxins. What exactly are they and what makes them so different from, say, snake venom?
What's fascinating about conotoxins is that they're not just one single toxin. They're complex mixtures of hundreds of different compounds called peptides. And here's the key. Each peptide has a very specific target in the body. Some block signals between nerves and muscles. Others interfere with the way our bodies transmit pain signals. It's incredibly precise.
So each type of cone snail has basically tailored its venom to be super effective against its preferred prey.
Exactly. They've evolved over millions of years to create this incredible arsenal of chemical weapons. It's really remarkable.
So it's like a personalized pharmacy of toxins, each one designed for a specific purpose.
That's a great way to put it.
You mentioned different types of conotoxins and their effects. Can you break it down a little further? What are some of the main players in this venom cocktail, and what do they actually do?
Well, there are a bunch of different families of conotoxins. They're named after Greek letters, which makes them a bit easier to keep track of. For instance, there are alpha conotoxins, which block signals between nerves and muscles. Then you have the delta conotoxins, which mess with the way sodium channels work in nerves. And the kappa toxins, which go after potassium channels.
So alpha, delta, kappa, it's like a fraternity of toxins.
Haha, I guess you could say that. And those are just a few examples. There are plenty more where those came from.
Okay, so we've got alpha, delta, and kappa. What other important conotoxins should we be aware of?
Well, there's muconotoxin, which specifically targets sodium channels in muscles. And perhaps the most interesting one for us humans is omega-conotoxin.
Interesting for us. Why is that?
Because omega-conotoxin blocks calcium channels that are involved in transmitting pain signals.
So it could potentially be used as a painkiller.
Exactly. And as we'll discuss later, it actually already is, but we'll get to that in a bit. For now, let's talk about the dangers of cone snails themselves.
Okay, so we've established that they have this ridiculously complex venom system with all sorts of different conotoxins. But how dangerous are they really? Could a casual encounter with a cone snail on the beach actually be deadly?
Well, it really depends on the species of cone snail. Some of the smaller ones that feed on worms might just give you a painful sting, kind of like a bee sting.
Okay, so not too bad, just a little ouch.
Right, but the larger species that hunt fish, those can be incredibly dangerous, even fatal to humans. Their venom is incredibly potent.
I've heard of a cone snail nicknamed the cigarette snail. What's the story there?
Ah, yes, the Conus geographus. It got that nickname because, supposedly, after being stung by one, you'd only have enough time to smoke a cigarette before. Well, you get the picture.
Yikes, that's a pretty dark nickname.
It is, but it highlights the seriousness of these snails. They're not to be trifled with.
Definitely a good reminder to be careful what you pick up at the beach. But here's the thing that I find fascinating. If these conotoxins are so deadly, how can they also have potential for medicine? Isn't that kind of a paradox?
It is a bit of a paradox, but that's what makes this research so exciting. It's like finding a weapon that can be repurposed into a shield. The same properties that make conotoxins dangerous can also make them incredibly valuable for treating certain conditions.
So it's about understanding those specific targets and figuring out how to use them for good.
Exactly. Remember that omega conotoxin we talked about, the one that blocks pain signals? Well, scientists have actually developed a pain medication called ziconotide that's derived from that specific conotoxin.
Wow, so they've actually harnessed the power of this deadly venom to create a painkiller.
Yep, and it's not just any painkiller. Ziconotide is actually 1,000 times more potent than morphine.
That's incredible. It's amazing what science can achieve when it comes to understanding and manipulating nature.
It really is, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. There's so much more to discover about conotoxins and their potential applications.
This is already blowing my mind, and we're just getting started.
It really shows you the power of these toxins and how we can harness them for good.
It's mind-blowing. So by studying these venomous snails, scientists have basically unlocked a whole new approach to pain management. What other medical possibilities are out there?
The potential of conotoxins goes way beyond just pain relief. Researchers are exploring their use for all sorts of conditions, including neurological disorders like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's disease.
Wow, those are some serious conditions.
Imagine if we could use these target toxins to block the specific signals that cause tremors or memory loss. It could be revolutionary for so many people.
It's incredible to think that something so dangerous could hold the key to treating such debilitating diseases. It really highlights the ingenuity of nature and the power of scientific research to find those hidden gems.
Absolutely. And we can't forget the cultural significance of these creatures, too. You know, those beautiful shells have been prized by collectors for centuries.
Oh yeah, I've seen those elaborate collections.
And they even play a role in traditional jewelry. Remember those puka shell necklaces?
Oh yeah, those were super popular.
Those iconic pieces, especially in Hawaiian culture, are made from naturally occurring beach-worn cone snail tops.
Wait, really? I had no idea. So those puka shells are basically ready-made beads created by the ocean.
Nature's handiwork. Pretty cool, huh? Though finding enough naturally occurring cone shell tops is tough, so most modern puka shell jewelry uses imitations.
Oh, that makes sense, especially if you're trying to make a lot of jewelry.
Right, they're either cut from thinner shells or even made of plastic.
Still, it's fascinating that something so beautiful and intricate can be found just lying on the beach.
Speaking of intricate, classifying these snails hasn't exactly been a walk in the park for scientists. Remember all those variations and potential synonyms we talked about?
Oh yeah, the shell diversity makes things pretty confusing.
For a long time, all cone snails were classified under a single genus, Conus, but then scientists started using molecular phylogeny, which is basically looking at their DNA to see how they're related.
So they're using DNA as a kind of detective tool to solve the cone snail mystery.
Exactly. It's like building a family tree for snails based on their genes.
That's awesome. So what did they find out?
Well, this DNA analysis, along with studying their shells, anatomy, and behavior, led to some big changes. In 2009, a couple of scientists proposed a new classification system with 3 distinct families and a whopping 82 genera for living cone snails.
Wow, 82 genera. That's a huge jump from just one.
Yeah, it shows just how diverse these creatures really are.
But was everyone on board with this new system?
Not exactly. Some experts preferred to stick with the traditional single genus classification. It actually sparked quite a debate in the scientific community.
A snail debate, who knew? But it's a good reminder that science is always evolving, right?
Absolutely. New discoveries are constantly being made, and our understanding of the natural world is always being refined.
So what happened with the cone snail classification? Did they just agree to disagree?
Well, the research continued. In 2015, another group of scientists published a study where they analyzed the DNA of over 300 cone snail species, and their results suggested something a little different.
Oh, what did they find?
They suggested that all cone snails should belong to a single family called Conidae, but within that family, they proposed 4 genera instead of 1.
So a bit of a compromise. Not back to square one, but a step towards a more unified understanding.
That's a good way to put it. It just goes to show that we're still learning so much about these fascinating creatures.
And speaking of learning, let's get back to the medical potential of conotoxins. We've talked about ziconotide and its incredible pain-relieving properties. What other breakthroughs are scientists working on?
Well, researchers are exploring conotoxin-based drugs for a whole range of conditions. For example, there are ongoing studies looking at their potential for treating Alzheimer's disease, which is a huge area of need.
Alzheimer's is such a devastating disease. The idea of using conotoxins to target those specific mechanisms involved in memory loss is incredibly exciting.
Absolutely. And there's promising research on Parkinson's disease, too. Some conotoxins show early promise in helping manage symptoms like tremors and rigidity.
It seems like conotoxins could really be a game changer for treating neurological disorders.
The potential is certainly there. And it doesn't stop there. Researchers are also looking into their use for treating depression, epilepsy, and even some types of cancer.
Wow, the possibilities are truly vast. It's amazing to think that something so deadly can be harnessed for such good.
It really speaks to the power of nature and the ingenuity of scientists who are figuring out how to use these compounds for the benefit of humankind.
But with all this talk about potential new medicines, are there any downsides or challenges to working with conotoxins? It can't all be smooth sailing, right?
You're right, there are definitely challenges. One of the biggest is the sheer complexity of cone snail venom. Remember, we're talking about hundreds of different peptides in each cocktail.
Right, it's like a whole pharmacy in a tiny snail.
Isolating and studying each individual compound can be incredibly difficult.
So it's like trying to find a needle in a haystack, but the haystack is made of tiny, powerful molecules.
It can feel that way sometimes. Another challenge is that conotoxins are relatively large molecules, which can make it tricky to deliver them effectively as drugs. They also break down quite quickly in the body.
So it's not as simple as just extracting the venom and turning it into a pill.
Unfortunately not. It requires some very sophisticated chemistry and pharmaceutical know-how to figure out how to stabilize these molecules and deliver them to the right place in the body without them degrading along the way.
Sounds like a real puzzle for scientists to solve.
It is, but the potential benefits are so great that researchers are determined to find solutions.
It's inspiring to see that kind of dedication and perseverance in the face of such complex challenges. But let's step back from the science for a moment and talk about the human side of things. What's the history of our interaction with cone snails? Have we always been aware of their venom?
Humans have known about the dangers of cone snails for centuries, especially communities living in coastal areas where these snails are found. There are stories and folklore passed down through generations about their painful stings. Some cultures even used cone snail venom for fishing or hunting, crushing the snails or extracting the venom to stun or kill fish.
Wow, that's incredible. It's amazing how people have learned to adapt to and utilize the resources available to them, even those that can be dangerous.
It really speaks to human ingenuity and our relationship with nature. But of course, there have also been many accidental encounters, especially before we fully understood the risks.
I can imagine people picking up cone snails on the beach, thinking they're just pretty shells, only to get a nasty surprise.
It happens more often than you'd think.
You know, I have to admit, I've probably picked up a cone snail or two myself without realizing how dangerous they could be. It's a good reminder to always be respectful of the power of nature, even in seemingly harmless creatures.
I agree. It's important to approach the natural world with both curiosity and caution.
So while we need to be careful and respectful of these creatures, we can also appreciate their unique and valuable contributions to our world, right?
Absolutely. They're a perfect example of how something that can be harmful can also be incredibly beneficial. They're both a threat and a potential source of healing.
It's a great reminder that nature is full of paradoxes, and that even the most unassuming creatures can hold incredible secrets.
It makes you wonder what other secrets are still waiting to be unlocked in the vast and mysterious depths of our oceans.
It certainly does. And on that note, I think it's time to delve even deeper into the future of conotoxin research. Welcome back, everyone. It's been quite a journey exploring the world of cone snails and those amazing conotoxins.
I know, right? From harpoons and venom cocktails to puka shells and the potential for new medicines, it's been a whirlwind of information.
It really has. So before the break, we were talking about some of the challenges scientists face when working with conotoxins. But where there are challenges, there are also brilliant minds working on solutions. What are some of the latest advances in conotoxin research?
Well, one really exciting area is the development of synthetic conotoxins.
Synthetic conotoxins, what does that mean exactly?
Basically, instead of having to extract the conotoxins from the snails themselves, scientists are figuring out how to create these complex molecules in the lab.
Oh, wow. So it's like making a copy of a key instead of having to find the original.
That's a great way to put it. And the really cool thing is, by synthesizing conotoxins, researchers can actually fine-tune their structure, potentially making them even more stable and effective as medicines.
So they're not just replicating what nature has already created, they're actually improving upon it.
Exactly. It's really cutting-edge stuff. Another area where scientists are making great strides is in drug delivery systems.
Drug delivery. How does that relate to conotoxins?
Well, remember we talked about how conotoxins are relatively large molecules and that they break down quickly in the body?
Right, that was one of the challenges we discussed.
Well, researchers are developing all sorts of innovative ways to package and deliver these molecules so they can reach their target in the body without being degraded along the way.
Oh, I see. So it's like creating a protective capsule that shields the conotoxin until it reaches the right spot.
Exactly. They're exploring everything from nanoparticles to encapsulate the conotoxins to even gene therapy techniques.
Wow, it sounds like the future of conotoxin research is incredibly bright.
I think so. It's definitely a field with a lot of potential. With all this progress in mind, are there any particular areas of medicine where you see conotoxins having the biggest impact in the near future?
That's a great question. We've already talked about pain management and how ziconotide, that drug derived from cone snail venom, is already making a difference. But beyond that, I think the potential for treating neurological disorders is just massive. Imagine being able to use these precisely targeted molecules to address conditions like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, epilepsy, and even stroke damage.
It's mind-boggling to think about the possibilities, right?
It really is, but it's also important to remember that we're still in the early stages of this research.
Oh, absolutely. There's still so much we don't know about conotoxins and how they interact with the human body, but the progress made so far is incredibly encouraging.
For sure. And with continued research and investment, who knows what amazing breakthroughs are just around the corner.
I agree. I think we're on the verge of a whole new era in medicine, one where nature's own solutions can be harnessed to address some of our most challenging health problems.
Well said. Well, I, for one, am incredibly excited to see what the future holds for conotoxin research. And who knows, maybe one of our listeners will be inspired to join this exciting field and contribute to these groundbreaking discoveries.
You never know. It's a field ripe with potential, and we need curious minds to continue exploring the incredible diversity and power of these amazing creatures.
Speaking of which, I think that about wraps up our deep dive into the world of cone snails and conotoxins.
It's been quite a journey, hasn't it? From those beautiful shells to the intricate mechanisms of their venom and the groundbreaking potential they hold for medicine. We've covered a lot of ground today.
We sure have. And it's been a real eye-opener for me. I hope our listeners feel the same way.
Me too. I think it's a great reminder that nature is full of wonders, both beautiful and dangerous, and sometimes the most unexpected creatures can hold the key to incredible scientific breakthroughs.
It really makes you wonder what other secrets are still hidden out there, just waiting to be discovered.
It certainly does. So, to all our listeners out there, keep exploring, stay curious, and remember, even the smallest creatures can hold the biggest secrets.
And that's a wrap on another deep dive. Thanks for joining us.